baby boomer fans. We are Jackie and Janine, the Pfeiffer sisters, and love to talk about the 1950s, inviting you to reminisce with us as we explore experiences of that decade. Grab your favorite malt or Green River. Make sure you are wide awake and get ready to be inspired about the 1950s. Welcome to the 1950s Fun Chat.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Number 233 in our 1950s Fun Chats. So many wonderful stories of the 50s, and today we add another one to that list.
Indeed. Welcome all. Please note the purple banner below. It says www.whilethewindmillwatch.com. Please go there for all sorts of information about the authors, about the vendors of the book, which you see up in the corner, While the Windmill Watched, a slice of rural America in the 1950s, and so much more. It's the little book up there that has spurred this 1950s Fun Chat. We would like to educate the public on rural history of the 1950s, and we go beyond and before that too. So because we do that, we're going to start today with a person who can do just that. It's been over 5 years since the 1950s Fun Chat began in September of 2021. The history of people, places, and things have been highlighted. Years on either side of the 50s have also been included. So this chat will take us back to 1885, to the establishment of a little country church, Glencoe Sloan Memorial Presbyterian Church in North Dakota, and its relationship with the Owyhee Dam on the Missouri River in South Dakota during the 1950s. Of course, we'll be talking about many more things beyond that, because that's what we do. Our guest, Karen Macdonald, grew up in Eldon, Iowa, and earned a Bachelor's of Science degree at the University of Iowa, an Iowa Nursing Program diploma, and a Master's degree in Community Health from Boston University. She moved to North Dakota from Iowa in 1971 to teach nursing at Mary College, which is now Mary University, in Bismarck, North Dakota. She married the proverbial bachelor farmer, had 2 children, all the while living the North Dakota dream, which is something that I'd like to hear about. He passed away in 2001. She lives on a ranch 30 miles from Bismarck and attends Glencoe Sloan Memorial Presbyterian Church. So Karen will tell us of the church and the dam relationship and other historical facts concerning this still active for 141 years prairie church. Oh, and we'll also toss in some interesting things about perhaps her careers, life on the ranch, maybe, or then that maybe we'll talk about 1930s Grant Wood painting American Gothic. Anyway, do stay tuned. Karen, welcome to the 1950s Fun Chat.
Thank you.
Hi, Karen. So before we hear about the relationship between the church and the dam, can you give us some historical notable facts concerning Glencoe Church?
I'd be happy to. The Glencoe Church is the only church in North Dakota. The picture is over my left shoulder, still holding services in the original building. Many churches in North Dakota are older, not many, but at least 5 or 6 are older than Glencoe, but they have new buildings, and we do not. We have the same building that the ranchers farmers built in 1885. The church is still holding services every Sunday. The church is on the county line of Burleigh County. Across the county line is the Glencoe Cemetery. Our forefathers did that on purpose. The gentleman who gave the land for the cemetery did not want it to have any relationship with the church. That's very unusual in North Dakota because most churches have a graveyard associated with the church. Mm-hmm. But our cemetery is completely separate, has its own board of directors, does its own thing. However, most of our loved ones are there, and we take care of the church, take care of the cemetery. I always got a kick out of when the kids were going to Sunday school or something was going on at church, they could smell the disturbance of dirt and they would run over there to see who was being buried. They kept good watch on that cemetery. It is a very peaceful place. We have Memorial Day services there every year. We have 75 to 80 people who come. The VFW Honor Guard presents the flag, plays taps, does a gun salute. And then we go to the church basement for refreshments. The interesting thing about their 21 gun salute is they, of course, use blanks, but the shells are projected. And invariably, the kids absolutely scour the grass to find all of the shells. Of note, the church was a staging area for our last grass fire in 2025. The fire was to the east of the church. It was not, they couldn't get much closer, but all of the fire trucks, all of the other trucks came up to the churchyard to get refills of water, refills of fuel. We served lunch to them. One of their neighbors brought his 18-foot digger and dug around the perimeter of the church and the cemetery to make sure that that fire did not get there. And let me tell you, it got pretty close.
My goodness. So how many direct land miles or would it take for a fire truck to get from, would have been Bismarck Fire Department, Rural Fire Department?
There were 14 rural fire departments that came to that fire. Okay. They came from as far away as Steele, Sterling, Hazelton, the Bismarck Rural Fire Department, Mandan Rural Fire. Hazelton Fire Department served as the lead fire department. They're the ones that ran everything. They're the ones that stayed there till the bitter end to make sure everything was out. But there were significant numbers of fire trucks. And then you have to bring in all of the ranchers who brought their pickups. We happen to have a mini fire apparatus on the back of a pickup where you can go down the lane and shoot the water out. Because grass fires are horrible. They're absolutely the most horrible thing that you'll see or hear. And we do not have a fire truck that lives within 2 miles of us. We had a grass fire east of our place, and I reported it. This was, I think, in about the late 80s. The dispatcher said, "Well, do you think I should send 1 truck or 2?" And I said, "Just send something." Well, they didn't get here very soon, and they had stopped to put out 2 grass fires before they got here. So fire prevention is very important because there's nothing to stop it.
Yes, so, right.
And were these fires started by electricity? Lightning?
Well, the last fire was started because somebody decided that they would do target practice, and they set up their targets in hay bales. And it's very, very hot, very, very dry. It doesn't take much. The fire that I talked to you about that was close to us was a piece of equipment hit a rock, and then there was a spark that started the fire. So they'll start with lightning. You just have to watch. And if there's smoke in the air, you got to figure out where it is.
So what is the town address of Glencoe Church?
We don't have an address because we don't get any mail. The church secretary gets the mail. Okay. So it doesn't really have an address. I don't know how, I think it's 159th Street. I'm not sure how, I can give you the address of the clerk later on if you'd like it, but there's no mail service. We don't have a mailbox.
Okay. And how far south of Menoken is Glencoe Church?
I'm going to say about 16 miles.
Okay. I, as we had shared in earlier conversations, Jackie and I have an association with Glencoe Church when we grew up at Menoken in the 50s. And you can probably tell us more, Karen, about the event that the church has annually.
Well, we have 3 or 4 major events. I talked to you about Memorial Day. Another major event, we have a pancake supper. At one time, they had church dinners, and I think we talked about that, where the farm wives would dismantle their stoves and bring them up, and they would cook chicken dinners.
Wow.
It was not necessarily the safest food preparation that you'll ever know. It was in my time.
Yes.
But it kind of has evolved into pancake supper. And the way the pancake supper started, they were to be the men's contribution. Well, they're like any other man that has a barbecue or anything. They take care of frying the pancakes, but somebody else has to mix up the dough. Somebody else has to get the stuff, But I cook the pancakes.
Yeah.
We have a really good turnout for our pancake supper. At one time, they were always in the fall before election. And so the candidates would come down and glad hand everybody, but they don't do that so much anymore. The final celebration that we have that we're very proud of is our Good Friday services.
Okay.
It is not a tradition in the Presbyterian Church to have services on Good Friday, but we always have services because it was the one day we could count on having a minister. The church generally does not have an assigned minister. But on Good Friday, they weren't busy anyplace else, so they would come down, and it was kind of like a circuit rider. We would marry, bury, admit to church, baptize, whatever needed to be done, because we knew we had a minister there. And we now do that in conjunction with the church in Bismarck and the church in Mandan. And it just simply is an expected tradition that we will have Good Friday services. We always have to have a lunch afterwards, and we have to have Presbyterian bars.
Well, we want you to tell us about these Presbyterian bars.
I didn't make that up, but it's something that we use all the time. Well, who's going to bring bars? Who's going to bring bars? And somebody from the Presbyterian Church yesterday said, and we need the Presbyterian bars. I don't think they're anything special. I think we just kind of refer to them as that. If I'm familiar with the Hazelton Church, they all bring something to eat. They bring goodies to eat. We don't. We bring bars.
More specific. Karen, how do you attain the ministers for each week?
We use lay pastors. They are from the Bismarck Mandan Church or someplace else, but they're interested in leading the services, and they can be a retired music teacher, a real estate salesman. We had a gentleman who had a shoe store, and he was kind of dull. And I made this mistake of saying in front of my kids, he's kind of tough to listen to. And my son says, he's the best one you have.
Oh.
And I generally say, if you don't like the sermon, that's no excuse for not coming next week, because it'll be somebody different. Winston Satram from the Pen was on the lay reader list. He brought out his shackles, and part of that would be the children's hour or the children's sermon.
Yeah.
And my oldest son volunteered to get the shackles on, and hopefully it was a good lesson for him.
Yes, an object lesson for sure.
Yes, but they conduct the service just as if they were lay pastor. They of course can't marry. They do bury because sometimes we simply don't have anyone to do that. They can't baptize, they can't admit to church as a confirmand or as a new member, but they can do everything else. And some of them are kind of better than some of the other.
Does Glencoe Church offer confirmation classes?
Yes, we have 2 in class right now that they are awaiting approval by the session. We're hoping that can be done by Good Friday, because that would be the date that the minister could accept them into the church.
Yes. Have you found through the years of time with the Glencoe Church that the whole idea of going to church has changed?
Not for us, but it might be for other people. I know there was about 3 weeks that I couldn't make it to church, and I did not like that. We have some live streaming of the Bismarck churches, and I watched that. It's not the same thing as going to church.
Right.
As I said before, we're kind of landlocked with there aren't a lot of new people that move in. Bismarck is very quickly, you can run to Bismarck for church very easily. Farms are bigger. An 18-foot drill just almost boggles my mind. We had someone that moved from California, and he thought we should go out and try to get people to join the church. I said, you look at who's around us, they're already churched. I'm not going to go out and convince them that they should come to our church. Those very people come to our pancake supper. They come to Memorial Day. You say you're going to mow the church and the cemetery. They're there with their mowers and their clippers. They're going to join. It's a very, they support the church, but they're not members, and they are members of other churches. There is a Catholic church in Menoken. There also is the former Stewartsdale church that is now a community church in Menoken.
Right.
Unfortunately, the church in Moffit closed because their basement was full of mold. It has been sold. And,
Well, there used to be a church in McKinsey, too, I thought.
Not in the last 50 years.
Oh, okay.
No.
Okay. I was thinking that when we were going to church in Menoken as youngsters, it was the Menoken Methodist Church, and I thought the Reverend Parker was the minister, and I thought he pastored at Menoken, McKinsey, and Sterling, but maybe it was Moffit.
Sterling. He was at Sterling.
Okay.
So, did he go as far as Driscoll?
I don't know. Glencoe or Hazelton and Steele were part of the Presbyterian circuit, but I don't know about Driscoll. Hazelton has left the Presbyterian USA.
And they still have a Catholic presence there?
Yes.
Okay.
It's the Catholics and the Lutherans.
Yeah, that's the way it is. North Dakota. So Glencoe is an area in Scotland, and it's known as the Great Glen. So how did the name come to North Dakota? And also tell us about, how did Sloan get into the title of the church?
Well, the place where the church was actually on a stage route. And that stage route was Livonia. Livonia was the name of the town. If you see the church, it's like maybe a half mile. There is a deep, you go down into the backwaters of the Oahe Dam, and that's where the town of Livonia was. With the Oahe Dam, that's all flooded now. So Glencoe remains on the top of the bluff. Sloan, Father Isaac Sloan, was a missionary from Philadelphia who came out originally in, well, what was 150 years ago. And he founded the Bismarck Church. He went back to Philadelphia, came back 4 or 5 years later and founded the Mandan Church. And then he came back in 1884 and started holding services at the Glencoe area, but it was the Livonia area. And apparently they decided then that they needed a church. So they started building the church. He named the church the Albert Barnes Memorial Presbyterian Church because Albert Barnes was his mentor from Philadelphia. He left 4 or 5 years later, moved back to Philadelphia and died. And the Glencoe Church then added the Father Sloan Memorial Church. They added Sloan to Barnes. So it was the Albert Barnes Sloan Memorial Church. Well, in 1923, they renamed it the Glencoe Sloan Memorial Church.
Not quite as a mouthful. Okay.
Not quite as a mouthful. And,
yes.
Okay.
Karen, you have pictures of the church to show us.
Yes. The picture behind me on the wall is one that I took shortly after the siding was done. I'm going to show you another picture that we refer to as the Flo Stuckenbrook.
Yes. Oh, it looks like it's in the prairie, out there on the prairie, waiting for parishioners to come.
It looks like they came and went and forgot to clean up after themselves.
But someone must have planted those trees. What kind of trees are around there?
Those are windbreaks. The
shelter belt.
Yeah, the tree that is still there is this tree. And we have a picture of this tree when it was just a little sapling with Father Sloan standing beside it. And that tree is still there. We have it fenced off because if you're any kind of a arborist, you know that parking on the root part of a tree bed is not good for it. So we have it fenced off so people can't park on the, I don't know what the term is, under the
root bed.
Yeah, under the tree. You can't park there. And they take care of it almost as good as they take care of their children. We have a gentleman that comes down periodically with his boom truck and cuts off the dead things. And we make sure that tree is very safe because that is 140 some years old.
Yeah. So what kind of a tree is it?
It's a cottonwood.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, those don't die, do they?
Oh,
no, some of them do.
You know, I know in most churches of that early era, it seems like there were basements.
Yes.
Was the basement used as a gathering place, as a fellowship hall, or was it used for teaching classes, Sunday school classes, confirmation classes?
All of the above. The basement is made of field stone that they brought in to make the walls of the basement. In the renovation, the church kind of fell into disrepair in the 20s, and then it was gradually resurrected in the 30s. They put drywall up in the church basement in front of the field stone. But when you take the stairs down to the church basement, you can still see the stone that it was built with. The basement had, we have tables, we have a kitchen, that's where we cook our pancakes. It was used quite a bit for that. We had our Sunday school there. We have fellowship after church where we serve Presbyterian bars.
Does it have running water?
We have a new well. One of the parishioners, his wife died, and he took the memorials and dug a new well. However, we don't have a septic tank, so we don't have a way to dispose of the water. So that's why the trees look so nice, because we water them with gray water. but we do have a well.
Okay. And so there's no indoor restroom facilities. Huh?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
30 feet from the back door. One of the things that happened when we had our 100th anniversary, I was the treasurer at the time, and we got quite a few donations. Some of them were in kind, some of them were like the banners for the church. And what were we going to do with the money? Well, the bathrooms were in sad shape. So we have brand new outdoor toilets. And one of our longtime members christened them Adam and Eve.
Oh,
That's great.
But they do have electricity. But, you know, my son is, he runs a septic tank business. So he kind of takes care of them.
Karen, if someone is interested in being buried out on the prairie, beautiful prairie, and in the Glencoe area and at the cemetery, how do they go about contacting someone?
Well, we have most North Dakota cemeteries are part of a registry, so you can find out who is the sexton of the cemetery that way. But I could tell you that it's Jim Bauer. He's a longtime member of the church.
Okay, yeah.
And then he has Richard Irvine, who is also a great grandson of a church member, of a church starter, but it's a different.
Mm-hmm.
You don't go through the church; you have to go through the cemetery.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the reasons that at the very west end of the cemetery are probably about 30 burial sites, and they are from the soldiers from when the Oahe Dam went in and they flooded that area. They brought those remains up and put them in the west end of the church. They are not named, they are numbered. We have one member of the church that takes it on himself to always decorate those areas. We had a custodian from the Bismarck Church that passed away, unfortunately, did not have any family. So we were able to get permission to bury him in that site as well. So we know where they are. We just have not got names for them or anything. But if you wanted, you need to come and talk to Jim, and he'll show you the map and he'll tell you what's taken. Now, I think my husband and his friends are all in one particular area. It's like they didn't want to be separated. The north end of the cemetery is pretty full. The south end is not. And then a gentleman and his wife who lives south of the cemetery gave them, I don't know if it was 100 acres or it was a large amount of land. But in order to have it as a cemetery, you have to have it plotted. And I don't think they've done that yet because they really haven't needed. My husband was sexton for many years, and the plotting is they have a little metal stake that they put in. So you take your metal finder and you go around and you find the stake, and then you find the next one, and then you have an idea where the plot is. Well, on that north end, there are some people that are buried quite close to their neighbors, you might say. But they watch it very carefully now. And one of the reasons that they brought the soldiers up, if you're going to be buried in Bismarck, and I don't know anything about the Menoken cemetery, but in Bismarck, it can cost $5,000 to $6,000 to get a plot. And then if you're cremated, you must have a vault, and that can be very, very expensive. So.
So have you any idea why Glencoe Cemetery was chosen for those Civil War? Were they because of the proximity?
I think because of the cost, because they would do it for no, I didn't, I would have liked to have talked to Mr. Bauer, but he's wintering in Arizona, and it would have been 6 o'clock in the morning that I called him. I don't think he would have been too happy, so I didn't call him.
Okay.
But that's a good question, and I'll find that answer out.
Thank you. Yes.
Do most of the grave sites have a headstone?
Oh, yes. Yeah. In fact, our headstone is there, and my name is on it with my birth date. My grandchildren can't quite get over that, but that's very typical. If you have a headstone, a husband and wife, you put the remaining spouse's name on it.
Right.
And then they just go in and fill in the date. There are stones that are flat, and then there are the obelisks.
Obelisks, yes. Mm-hmm.
The one area where Alexander Macdonald is buried, his are flat, and right within 10 feet is the Civil War soldier who parented his wife, and he came up from Missouri, was a Civil War veteran, and he's got I suppose it's about 5 feet tall. And of course they put the names on it all the way around. So it's kind of fun to go through there and see who's buried there. The north end is the most interesting because that's where 4 or 5 children would have been buried from measles epidemic or diphtheria. And we have some very different headstones. There's a bird made out of glass that I envy quite a bit.
Ooh. Interesting. Is it, of course, in the wintertime when frozen ground, it probably couldn't bury.
No.
Do the remains go to a mausoleum somewhere, or how does that work?
Well, the local funeral homes have a place
Okay.
to that's
store
a
them?
crass word, to store them.
Mhm.
And then they'll announce in the spring that we will be burying your loved one on this or that date.
Okay.
I found that quite strange when I moved up here because in Iowa, you just buried them. And I don't know if our ground wasn't as thawed. My husband told me that the only way they could bury somebody is if they put a fire on top of the ground to melt the ground. So then they could dig it and they could bury somebody. And he said, that's too much work.
Well, with today's equipment, I'm surprised that they can't do that even through the frozen ground.
Well,
no.
I don't work for the funeral home, so I can't. I'm just telling you that's typical.
Yeah. So you did mention something about your husband's family there. Directly, you have a personal stake in that.
In looking at the church, the current church membership, at least my son and I and their 3 children, the neighbor, and then the widow that lives south of the church, all have a direct tie to the people who started the church. Alexander Macdonald came from Scotland. He homesteaded just 2 miles east of the church. His children married the children of the guy who came up from Missouri, who was the Civil War rebel. The people have a tendency to stay there.
Yeah, after they're in the ground, they do.
Well, if they're in the ground, I'm going to stay there and take care of them.
Yeah.
Oh, one of the things that you ask about the church, the pews were sent from Philadelphia for the church when the church was being built. The packing cases that were around the pews, Father Sloan took them and built the altar, the podium. And you can see where he used his knife to swirl. And we always feel that that's kind of it wasn't, it was Isaac Sloan that built the pulpit. That's the word I was looking for. And it's fitting that his Bible is there. So
okay. Karen, this has been such a wonderfully unique story. We've not shared anything like this on our Fun Chats before, but the history that started in the prairies, on the prairies, and is still ongoing today is remarkable. And I think it's especially remarkable to Jackie and me because it was rather close to where we grew up.
Right.
It makes it so very interesting to bring that alive again. We thank you for offering this to us today.
It's really
Maybe I could tell you one more anecdote about the church.
Sure.
We always had Vacation Bible School.
Mhm.
My cousin, who is the same age as I am, was just here for a funeral. And she said, you know, we always had to go to Bible school. We always had to wear a dress. And she is a physical education teacher. She said, I always took my jeans so I could play football afterwards.
Mhm.
But we would, you know, when my children were younger, we'd have 30 kids in Vacation Bible School.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yes, wonderful. Yes, yes.
So
Thank you.
please come visit us.
Okay. All
We
right.
may do that. Yes.
Yes, yes. Thanks,
And-
Karen. Much
and-
appreciated.
And
You're
viewers,
very
thank you for stopping in. I mentioned a couple of other topics which we didn't get to, but stay tuned. Who knows? We may have this lovely guest on again. So, in the meantime, push that red subscribe button, also the blue thumbs up button, and tell your friends, even your relatives, about our 1950s Fun Chats. So, till next time, toodaloo.